Howdy everyone, I remember back in the day, about 12 years ago now, if you wanted a full frame 14mm f2.8 lens, then you had no choice but to pay $1.5 for a Canon or Nikon one. Thankfully now, some more affordable manual focus alternatives have hit the market in recent years, and at $300 or £240 here in the UK, this new TTArtisan lens could be a real bargain if it turns out to be any good. The TTArtisan 14mm f2.8. It's a fully manual lens that's available on Canon RF, Nikon Z, Leica L, and Sony E-mount mirrorless camera mounts, and offers a full-frame, ultra-wide-angle field of view. I'd like to thank TTArtisan for sending me one for evaluation, although as usual, this is a totally independent review. I love that 14mm ultra-wide angle on a full-frame camera. The field of view is absolutely huge, great for architecture work and sometimes useful for landscape photography as well. It's so wide that it can actually be a bit tricky to compose your images with it sometimes, and a maximum aperture of f2.8 means that it lets in enough light for most uses, although nowadays you can actually get brighter than this. The lens has pretty typical build quality for an inexpensive, fully manual optic. It's not very big, but it's tough, metallic, and a little heavy. It doesn't feature any weather sealing. The lens's metallic focus ring turns extremely smoothly and more than precisely enough for easy manual focusing. As you can see here, the lens doesn't really have any serious issues with focus breathing. Behind the focus ring comes the aperture ring, which turns with gentle clicks at every half an f-stop, and those f-stops are evenly spaced, which always makes me feel happy. For stills photography, it's great to have some gentle clicks in there so that you can feel how you're shooting without needing to look down. The lens comes with a screw-in lens cap, something that's always a bit annoying to me, but usefully, that cap screws onto an also detachable lens hood with a wide 77mm filter thread. It won't be a very effective hood, but that filter thread is helpful, although I have to tell you now, I did shoot with it for a while using one of my thinner Marumi Fit and Slim circular polarizing filters, and I did get some physical vignetting with it, so that was a bit of a shame. Anyway, that's about it for this lens overall. It's quite a simple lens, but it does work okay. If you're using filters with it, you might have to crop into your image a bit though. Alright, let's see about image quality. We'll start by testing it on a full frame camera, the brutal 61MP Sony a7CR. No in-camera corrections are available with this lens. If you want full-frame images zoomed in to the 42MP ratio of my older reviews, by the way, for comparison, then you can find a link to a special unlisted video in the description below. I'll tell you right away that this is one of the few wide-angle lenses out there which absolutely hated my test chart. I had to get pretty close to the test chart for images. Most other wide-angle lenses are surprisingly fine with me doing that, but here the corner image quality completely disintegrated. Something I don't normally mention, though, is that, fortunately, I do test every wide-angle lens at longer distances as well. So here are some test images taken close to infinity. In the middle, at f2.8, sharpness is looking great already, but contrast is just good. Stop down to f4 though for a good little boost in image quality. Let's open back up to f2.8 and take a look over in the corners then. Okay, they're looking quite soft and dark here, with some noticeable colour fringing on contrasting edges. Stop down to f4 for a bit more brightness. Stop down to f5.6 for a bit more sharpness here. Stop down to f8 though for some pretty decent sharpness to finally emerge. f11 looks about the same, and f16 just looks softer now due to diffraction. Overall, even for a low budget lens, this is a bit of a poor performance. Remember, corner image quality is important when you're working at such wide angles. Anyway, let's take a look at vignetting and distortion now on a full frame camera. Some good news is that distortion isn't too bad. We're seeing some barrel distortion being projected here, but it's not strong. Corners are very dark at f2.8 though. At f4 they brighten up, but actually, as you can see from this image at f5.6, that is about as bright as they get. Let's see about close-up image quality then. The lens can focus down to 20cm, which is okay for such a wide-angle optic. Close-up sharpness is alright, but contrast is way down at f2.8. Stop down to f4 and sharpness becomes excellent again though, in the middle of the image. Let's see how the lens works against bright light. Quite a few problems here, as you can see, with all kinds of flaring, including a giant broad red ring when bright lights are directly in the image. Stop down to about f5.6 to clear a bit of that mess up, but still, when shooting at such wide angles, this level of flaring could be a real problem. Okay, while we're shooting in the dark, let's take a look for coma and sun stars. At f2.8, we're getting some crazy smearing with bright points of light in the image corners. It's slightly reduced at f4. Finally, at f5.6, it's gone. Let's zoom out and take a look for sun stars, and they're emerging already at f5.6. At f11 and f16, they get quite strong. And finally, bokeh. Nothing much to report here. Those out of focus backgrounds look soft enough, especially for such a wide angle lens. Not that you'll be getting out of focus backgrounds very often here. Overall, well, the test results speak for themselves today. Even though it's pretty inexpensive, I can't really recommend this lens as it just has too many problems with image quality.